So Xiaomi has released an update to the Poco X2, imaginatively called the Poco X3. So we're looking at the NFC version, which has the Snapdragon 732G. So will it be faster than its younger sibling? Well, let's find out. So we have the Poco X3 NFC edition on the left-hand side with the Snapdragon 732G. On the right-hand side, we have the Poco X2 with the Snapdragon 730G. So 730G versus 732G. Will there be much of a difference? Well, there is a slight difference in the CPU speed. In the 730G, it has been boosted from 2.2 gigahertz maximum to 2.3 gigahertz maximum, 100 megahertz there. Will that make any difference as we are now going into the compression test? And I did see that the X3 was slightly in the lead there. Also, just while we're looking at the X3, there is a slight difference in the NFC version and the non-NFC version. Of course, NFC being one of the differences, and there is a slight battery size difference. That seems to be basically about it. And I think the X3 was the first into the 16 thread test. So 16 thread test now is going to be pushing all of those CPU cores as hard as it possibly can. Of course, these Snapdragon 732 comes with two Cortex A76 cores on both the left and the right hand side, and just that difference in clock frequency there. They both got the same GPU, but we can see that difference has made a difference, as it was the first into the blur test, which is the beginning of the mixed CPU GPU part of this test. So the X3 maintains its lead by, well, a couple of seconds there by looks of it. We'll see at the very end what the final times are. It's now into the infinite scrolling list, as of course is the X2. And I expect the X2 to basically match it all the way along, just slightly slower. That's basically what we're going to see. What's the frame rate going to be? This will be a good test to see what happens. 15 frames a second on the left hand side, 18. Whoa, that's unexpected. That was unexpected. The X2 actually doing a better job there in the smoke particle test. Will that affect the final result? We're going to see what happens now. They're both into the Unity test, as we notice here on the 120 hertz display. It's reporting on the right hand side. However, Unity is reporting a 30 hertz display on the left hand side. That seems very odd. Probably Unity not detecting that rightly, I would guess. However, both running in 1080p. No, they're not. No, they're not. Look at the right hand side. That's actually running a slightly lower than 1080p, and that allowed the X2 to actually finish that test ahead of the X3. And now we're going to see what happens as we go into the Unreal test. Who is going to get through this forest scene first? Which one is it going to be? Is it going to be left? Is it going to be right? This is going to go right down to the line. They're both pretty going about the same rate. Let's see what happens now as we get down to this final section. It goes just past here to the very end of the... What's it going to be? The end of the forest here. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? Surely it's going to be the X3. Yes, it is. 2 minutes 32.8. Oh, and there we go. 2 minutes 34.2. Okay, let's break down those scores and let's try to understand exactly what happened. So as we saw there, a win by the Poco X3, which is what we'd expect with the Snapdragon 32G, and that was a time of 2 minutes 32.8, and then just 1.4 seconds later came in the Poco X2, 2 minutes 34.2. So when you look at the CPU, this of course is where the biggest difference was in terms of the specifications. 57.4 versus 59.8. That's a 2.4 second difference. So 2.4 second difference, that extra 100 megahertz making a bit of a difference there on the X3. When we get into the mixed CPU GPU, 33.1 versus 32.1. So we see a win there by the Poco X2, and we saw that the frame rate was actually higher there. And then when we get into the GPU, exactly the same. 1 minute 2 seconds 0.2, 1 minute 2 seconds 0.2, absolutely the same. So really that CPU kind of clinched the deal there. So the Poco X3 actually came in the overall winner, 2 minutes 32.8. My name is Gary Sims, this is SpeedTest G. I really hope you enjoyed this test. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. If you have questions about the test, do check out the link to the FAQ, which you'll find in the description. And if you like these kind of tests, well, why not stick around by subscribing to the channel? Okay, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.